Most people are familiar with the term warrior, but in Native American culture, it probably doesn't mean what you think it does. Our modern culture calls people warriors who go to war, fight for their rights, and against evil, either real or imagined. The Native American traditional definition of a warrior is quite different. There are 7 virtues a warrior must possess. The first is to have a totally open and unlimited imagination. They must hold an open mind. They don't rush to judgment just because they've been taught something is bad. They give away this conditioning in order to see things for what they really are. True learning only happens when we approach life in this way. This is also the only way to gain a pure understanding of others. It allows us to have true originality. We aren't following someone else's path or one designed by our parents. We're not afraid to live our life in a way that someone else might not like. We live our life for ourselves. We're not afraid it may offend someone. That's their problem, not ours. The second virtue is frequent and deep introspection. When we take time daily to look within, to check in with ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, we prevent potential negativity from entering our lives. Sometimes life happens so fast that we agree to things without thinking it through. Later, we may wish we hadn't made such a commitment. If you've ever found yourself trying to get out of doing something you really didn't want to do, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There are times we may be surprised by what a colleague says or does. It seems to come out of the blue. We had no idea they felt this way. But if we're able to remind our lives a bit, we may discover that there were clues that we ignored. For example, my new neighbor hung up a political banner. I didn't really think they were the kind of people to vote for this person. However, I do remember seeing a lot of flags on one of their vehicles. At the time, I said to myself, they may be of this persuasion. So I did have a clue. I was warned. It shouldn't have been that surprising. By paying attention to these nuances, we get a bit of what some may call intuition. This is also the second virtue of a warrior. When we take the time to reflect on the day's events in solitude, the clues we get don't go by unnoticed. We avoid unpleasant surprises and are better prepared for what life may throw at us. Flags on a person's car, an odd noise under the hood, a small crack in the foundation are all warning signs. We can ignore them and be caught off guard when the car won't start or the foundation crumbles, or we can make a note of these things and act accordingly before all hell breaks loose. The third virtue of a warrior is complete trust and innocence. You may be thinking this is unsafe, but you're probably using a different definition of these words. I don't mean you allow these people to lie and take advantage of you. I'm talking about in conversation. When someone tells you they feel a certain way, believe them. It doesn't mean you would feel the same way in a similar situation. This is their truth. If they saw an event unfold and relate a story that seems fabricated, there's a reason. They want you to believe it happened this way. Accept their point of view. You can ponder the validity of it later in private. If you trust them and innocently embrace their narrative, they'll open up more to you, and you'll be able to see the bigger picture. You may even begin to understand why they see things from a completely different perspective. The fourth virtue is true wisdom and logic. It may take days, weeks, or months to learn all the facts surrounding a particular subject or situation. We may not like the facts we discover. This is why the first virtue is to have an open mind. Just because the truth is inconvenient or angers us doesn't make it any less truthful. A warrior has the strength to confront his bias and adjust his attitude accordingly. Only a strong mind that's spiritually awake is able to walk this path. I'm sure you've seen plenty of examples of people who can't. They resist reality. They argue with experts on subjects they've never studied in school. They swear by their beliefs even when confronted with mountains of evidence to the contrary. These are not warriors. These are children. Their attachment to falsehoods brings them the same type of comfort a 2-year-old gets from their favorite blanket. They are ready to let go of their old comfortable beliefs that they've held on to since childhood. The fifth virtue has 2 parts. The first opens the path to the second. We must have honest and deep communication with our inner personas. By listening to our inner elders and honoring the needs of our inner children, we begin to perceive reality for what it truly is. The molding and sculpting we experienced as children made us believe everything was black and white, right and wrong. There was very little in between. As we mature, we begin to understand the subjective nature of reality. It depends on where you stand. Stealing is always wrong, until your child is starving and corporate price gouging has made food costs prohibitive. Speeding and running red lights are terrible until you're trying to get someone to the hospital in time to save their life. Do you see what I mean? Once we've made honest, open conversation with ourselves a habit, we can then move to the second step. We can begin to have these same types of conversations with others. Of course, it takes 2 people to have a conversation. The other person must also be of a like mind. If they're dancing on the circle of foxes, more concerned with what others think of them than being their true, authentic self, this kind of a conversation will be impossible. It will remain on a lower, more basic level. When you find a mature individual who can carry a deeper conversation, you'll feel the shift in energy. This kind will energize you. This is a bonding, a sharing of the souls. The time will fly by, and you'll feel as if you're a better person afterward. The 6th virtue of a warrior is accepting ourselves. We know we will make mistakes, and we forgive ourselves for them. We don't replay the embarrassing things we've said in the past or the silly things we've done today. We can't change the past, so we let it go. We also can't change the way our bodies look. Sure, we can diet and exercise and become healthier, but we can't change our basic structure. And there's no shame in that, no matter what our body type. Society makes us feel as though we all have to be model quality and perpetually under 30. This is not practical. We're our own worst critics. Accepting our bodies is another part of accepting ourselves. We must accept what we have. We may not be in love with what we see in the mirror, but accepting it means we don't say bad things about ourselves. We know we're doing the best we can, and nobody's perfect. Any partners we may have must respect our body. Since we know our self-worth, We don't settle for those that would bring us down instead of lifting us up. Just as we don't waste energy on draining conversations with people who are only trying to impress others. The seventh and final virtue of a warrior is to embrace our connection to all things. We've let go of our molding, sculpting, and armoring. We're off the circle of foxes and dancing with the coyotes. We live to learn and follow our dream, not to please others. By recognizing our connection to the universe, we honor others as we honor ourselves. We treat others with the same respect we've learned to give ourselves. We don't look down on others, even if they may be far behind us on the path. We patiently try to help and guide them, and we see ourselves in their shoes. So you see, the only thing this warrior fights is their own shortcomings. Their goal is to be better tomorrow than they were today. Thank you for watching.